It's January 2021. Her business, her voice, her conversation is opening up the year to women of substance. They are women of leadership, moxie, and spirit.
Welcome to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. This podcast was created for the boomer woman leaving corporate, and now you're looking to reinvent yourself, become an author, an entrepreneur, a podcaster. Well, each episode will leave you with clarity. You will come away with the yes, I can and yes, I will reinvent myself mindset. So come on, let's do this. I'm your host, Margo Levette.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Another episode, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. Well, today's conversation is with a retired U.S. military veteran. Yes, haven't had that on the show yet. She is a leader, a born leader, CEO of Ackiss Virtual Management. And I want to welcome Anitra Lane. Welcome. Thank you for coming with us, being with us today, Anitra.
Thank you, Margo. I am so excited to be here and to talk about, being a leader in 25 plus years. Well, more like, we counted out 26 years, 10 months, and 24 days.
To be exact.
We get exact with it, yes.
Yes, that's a long time to be in leadership. And that's where our focus, I want to talk about Ackiss.
Yes, Ackiss.
Ackiss Virtual Management. We're going to touch on that because that came after you came after your service, and thank you for your service. I know that it's very important that we honor our veterans, most definitely. But this Ackiss Virtual Management came after your years of service. So let's touch bases on the business that you have created, and then we're going to back it all the way up to this woman who's all of her life, she really has been a leader. So I want right from the gate, what is Ackiss Virtual Management?
Okay, Ackiss Virtual Management is an online service for entrepreneurs who are having a hard time with technology. A lot of entrepreneurs find themselves having some true troubles navigating things that come easy to me, but not everyone. And when I say things that come easy, I mean different softwares like Infusionsoft, or just doing a full, maybe just an email sequence that they need to send out. You get your customers and they come in and they sign up and all of these things, and then you don't know what to do with them afterwards. Or once you learn what to do with them, you can't navigate the software from the various companies. And although there are videos and things like that, some people still need that personal touch. Yeah. And so that's what I really, really do is I work one-on-one with entrepreneurs, and we walk through like a hand-in-hand walkthrough of the different systems so that they can be completely acclimated with them. And it allows them to be more productive, free up some more time for them, and gain the profit that they're looking for.
Wow. That is so very necessary, because you know how many hours you can spend just trying to figure something out. It's a time suck, and one-on-one, you also leave a person with their confidence. I can do this. Anitra showed me how to do this. I have this. And then they can go right on. Wow. That level of patience, that level of productivity that you are able to bring to your clients, to your customers, that comes from your field of leadership. It's a leader. Everybody's not going to be able to jump right into that technology. Everybody can't even become an entrepreneur. It takes a leader. So take us back, Anitra. When did you understand that, wow, I think I'm a leader? I think I'm not a follower. My life is one of leadership. Take us back.
So let's go back to when I was young, very, very young. I was talking to my mother, and what she was telling me was like when I was 4 years old, I got really sick. And at the age of 4, I got sick. I stopped talking and I stopped walking. It was scary for her. And so what she did was she takes me to the hospital. And this was like in the early 70s. So telling my age, that's okay though.
Sure is.
So she says, when she gets there, they want to do a spinal tap. And she had one herself before and she knew it was painful. So she was like, I'm not taking my baby through that. What are the other alternatives? And so what happens is I still don't walk and I don't talk, but they give me some leg braces. And so for 6 to 10 months, I wore those braces, and my mom actually helped me to learn how to walk. And she said it was a little bit after that that I really was able to walk in things, that I started talking. And so we laugh and joke because there was this picture of me and I was on this bicycle. And back then, I caught the mumps, right? And so my head is tied up. And my mom said, all I could talk about was, I need to go outside and ride my bike and have some ice cream, because that was me being who I wanted to be and taking those steps of it. It falls into leadership. Even at a young age, I couldn't be stopped. And so I say that, and I remember there's a drum and bugle corps. Right now they're called the Isorettes. But that story, when I was 4, imagine I couldn't walk before. And at the age of like 5 or 6, me and my cousin were like in the front line of the drill team. So we like, now I can walk and I'm doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So my leadership really came in at a young age, but I didn't even know it then, because when you think you're like 5, you're out, I'm out front. I'm out in front. Me and my cousin, we're like 5 or 6 and we're young, but we're leading the rest of the group.
Wow. 5 and 6.
5 and 6, we're out there. We're loving it because, it's an experience when you're that young to be in front of people and to be in parades and those types of things.
Wow.
And so from that leadership early on, I get into high school, and this is going to transition into my military. So I was in Marine Corps Junior ROTC for 4 years, from my 9th grade to my 12th grade year. And while I was in, I was on the drill team. Yeah. Again, me and the drill team must be something with that right there. So I'm in 9th grade and I'm seeing what's going on with the leaders. And one of the things for me was I wanted to be the first Black female drill team leader, because we just didn't have a lot of Black female leaders that were showing up and showing the way. And so that was my goal in high school. And I reached that goal in the 11th grade. So I was the drill team leader from 11th and 12th grade. We were in the Marine Corps. We used to travel everywhere. And my thing was being out front and helping the other students in the class. And it was just an awesome, thing. And I knew, even then, I knew I was going in the military. I'll tell you why. Because at the age of 17, and we've all been there, I thought, I just worked for 20 years, retired, and I ain't never got work again. That's the answer. That's ultimately, because for me, I got in the military 2 days after I turned 17. Wow. So I was extremely, extremely young. But I felt like I had already had 4 years of military training because we were working with a retired Marine Corps First Sergeant. I knew it all. I knew what I needed to know. So I thought, as far as leadership, and he taught us, how to be leaders, even at that young of an age. And so what he did was, when I first went to basic training, I enlisted in the Army National Guard,
Mhm.
I went to basic training and I already had rank. I came in as an E3, which is what happens with most military people that come in who have had junior ROTC in high school. You can already come in with rank depending on how many years you've had in school. So I came in as an E3 and I went to basic training and it was great. I got to tech school and the leadership skills I had learned in high school transitioned over because when I get to my tech school, I become the platoon leader for
Wow.
all of the females. So it's over 300 females that I'm in charge of, and that's a lot of women.
And that's under
Um,
age 20. I mean, probably right around 20, you're leading 300 women.
I was
Wow.
18. Like
Oh my goodness.
I was 18. I had like probably just turned because I graduated high school at 17. And so I had literally I had just turned 18 because I was like I had just finished tech school and my birthday's in the end of August. And so yeah, I went to basic training in tech school, right? Like I was, yeah, hitting that 18 age, but it was very interesting to lead people, especially a lot of women. But I didn't just lead the women because I was concerned about everyone. So
Mhm.
I was the platoon leader, and then I was the class leader. So that meant I took attendance and I made sure that people had somewhere to sleep, people were getting their food, the soldiers that making sure that they had everything that they needed. And so, again, a leader at a young age and learning through the whole process of how to lead people and working with, different people from different places all over the United States. And everybody has their own way of doing things, their way of talking to people. And
Mhm.
even then, my name, so I'm gonna do a little caveat in here. So the name Ackiss is my maiden name.
Gotcha.
So that's where my business comes from, my maiden name,
Gotcha.
because that's where my heritage starts in
Yes.
a way when I'm talking about generational wealth and things like that building.
That's
And so,
beautiful. That's beautiful.
yes. And
Mm.
while I was there, my drill sergeant would be like, "Private a kiss," right? They just forget the C. We just gonna go with the and the kiss in it. But they would call me out. They knew that I knew my stuff, and they would call me out to lead even the males because sometimes they needed extra help and they'd be like, is there a place for all these males to go? We need to get people in their rooms and bedded down because on the weekend we didn't always have a drill sergeant, but we might have had a tech sergeant from the schoolhouse
Okay.
that was monitoring us. And so,
You had a chance to lead the men and the women.
mhm,
You had a chance to learn, to grow, to really be yourself. So
mhm,
that's the wonderful side of the military that we all see, that's always promoted on television, on radio. That's the part of the military that we all want to be a part of. But
mhm.
can I take a quick turn? And I hate to say the word pivot, but can you interject the darker side of the military? That part that we don't often want to talk about. We some of us don't even know that it exists. But I think that it's time for us to go ahead and talk about it. So will you proceed? Go as deep as you need to. And I want to reiterate once again, for some people, this may be a bit graphic, but I want people to understand and not to discredit the military at all, but just to let everyone know there is another side to this story.
Yes, let me say first and foremost, this is a trigger warning because what I'm about to share with you revolves around military sexual trauma. It is not something that we talk about all the time because it does take courage to say, I was sexually assaulted, and I was sexually assaulted by my people, military people, the people that when you sign the contract that you believe are there, they're trustworthy. These are the words that you say to yourself. They're trustworthy. We're in the military. People in the military don't do the things that people who aren't in the military would do. Those are the things that you tell yourself. But there's a dark side, and it's come out in media. But when it comes out, it's there for a short period of time, and then the next new thing comes about. But for me, I was in, again, a guard unit, which is different from active duty, but I was in a guard unit nonetheless. And so I was in the Army Guard at the time. We were doing our 2-week annual training, and I went over to Italy. When you go to another country, they give you an in-country briefing. And so they tell you all the rules that go to that country. And a big part of the rules is anything that is of a legal activity, illegal or otherwise, you are going to be prosecuted based on that country's rules, right? Even if you're on a federal military installation, federal building, basically, federal installation. But so while I was there, and I won't go deep into it, but while I was there, I met a group of people that I thought I had connected with. And of those people, I was sexually assaulted by multiple gentlemen. And actually, they were boys. And this was in a period in which I was basically 21, old enough to drink, and I was drinking. And so as I was drinking with this group of people that I felt that I could trust, they took advantage of my drunkenness. And so I was what we would call, back in the day, I had a train ran on me, but ultimately it ends up being gang rape is basically what it was. And so during this situation, I didn't trust my leadership that I was there with. And so I find myself in a position where I wake up and I'm in cold water and I'm being washed by people I don't know. I wake up probably, I'm a little bit more lucid, a 4th or 5th time. And I usually say 4 because that is what I can remember, is the 4th time of waking up with an individual on top of me that I don't know. And having a guy that I had met there come in and pull this individual off of me. And I get a little bit more lucid, but I'm very angry because now I can remember most of what has happened. And when you're young and something that traumatic happens, all of your emotions come into play. And so a lot of my emotions did come out. And the young gentleman, he kind of talked me down because I was a single parent. And I wanted to kill everybody. I was like, I just want to kill them all. But I didn't know who them all were. I just knew everybody needed to be on the receiving end of my anger and my anguish from having been raped. So when that situation happened, me and the young guy that kind of calmed me down, he takes me back to the room. I kind of sleep off the drunkenness. My unit is looking for me. I do not know that they are on the verge of declaring me missing in action, MIA, because they can't find me. Now they do come to his room, and when they come to his room, I'm hiding. So I probably weigh like 110 pounds at the most, and I'm about 5'5", 5'6". So I'm a really small lady. And so they come, they look for me. I finally leave his room, go back to where we were staying on the outside of this particular Air Force base. We were in the Army, so we were staying out in tents and in cots and things. So I get back, I go to the shower, and I scrub myself because when you've been raped, there's a feeling of just dirtiness. And so there happened to be a young lady in the bathroom when I was there, and she saw me crying, and I told her what happened. But when telling her, I was much more graphic, and I told her that she could never share. She could never tell anybody what I told her, or I would deny it, because I wasn't ready to share completely with the people that were in my leadership. I was afraid of being stuck in a country that I knew nothing about, and I would be there until trials and investigations. And there was a fear just in all of that. And then I had the thought of, I have a child, I can't leave someone else my responsibility. And so while I'm there, another situation takes hold. And that particular situation has to do with, I go out again with the group, my unit, and we're at the NCO club on base. And there's an officer that sees me, and this officer knows that they had been looking for me earlier the day before. And so while we're there, he gives me a direct order, and he says, I cannot leave the club until he does. He doesn't leave the club until 2 a.m. I had a curfew. I was supposed to be back at camp by 9:00.
Oh my.
So I completely missed the curfew. The officer was a major, and we stopped at, I don't know, bars along the way. See, these are stories that they wouldn't tell you, that they wouldn't share. So by the time we do get back to camp, it's 4:00 in the morning on a Saturday. And my senior NCO at the time, we didn't have a good relationship. I didn't trust him. He didn't like me. Didn't really matter, at least in my mind. But he tells me, you're going to get demoted. I had only made one strike. Like I had only been promoted once in the time. And so it was devastating to me. And the major came out and he wrote an affidavit, and he said, this is what I told her. And so I had given her an order not to leave. And they were like, we don't care.
Wow.
You're not in her command. You're not in her chain of command. So these are the political games that they play to benefit them.
So how does all of this unfold? Do you ever get you never tell anyone, the person that you swore to secrecy, she held to her code of silence. How did all of this unfold, or was any of it ever resolved?
Actually, it was never resolved, because this is the part that we don't talk about. And as a leader, you encourage trust and respect and loyalty from your people, from the people that work for you, from your peers, from your own leadership. I didn't have that. And so after I go through all of that, I actually switch branches of service, and I find myself having lots of trouble trusting my leadership, having a respect for the person's position, but not necessarily the person. Mm-hmm. I spent a lot of time testing my leadership in different ways to see how loyal they were to me. The more loyal they were to me, the more loyal I was to them. But through all of this, being a leader, people follow you. So when you're a good leader and a effective leader, because it ain't just about being good, you got to be effective. When you're good and you're effective, people will follow you. Well, for me, that trauma caused me to put on a mask. And I wore a mask where people would see me. I actually had like a call name, and it was Tech Sergeant Smiley at one point. But I smiled because I smiled through the pain. And it allowed me to wear like a brick wall. I had a brick wall up, but unless I told you, you would never know. And so as I go through my promotions from an E3 to E4, back to E3, which was my start over period. That's what I say. I started over from E3 and I make it to E8 as a true born leader. During this, I spent about 10 years sitting in one particular rank, but I was learning more leadership skills through the whole thing. So I'm getting to the end point of my 26 years, 10 months and 24 days of retirement. And I say, I'm getting out. But before I could get out, I've had personal family trauma. I have family members dying, things like that. And what I say is when we have a trauma, we'll take that trauma, put it in a box, put a key in it, lock it up, throw it in the back of our mind so that we never have to deal with it again, right? That's what we say. I'm taking this to my grave. I'm never going to tell anybody. But what was happening was it was seeping out. Like Pandora's box was opening, and it was opening and it was seeping out. And so there were some things that I didn't know that were happening with me. But one thing I did know was this right here. I wasn't a suicidal person, but I knew that if I had another traumatic situation, that I would wear a straitjacket for the rest of my life because I felt my mind would break and nobody would be able to bring me back. Not my family, not anybody, because they didn't know the invisible pain that I walked around with every day. They didn't know the depth of the secrets that I kept and I held within. And so I got to a point where I was slowing down. So I'm retiring and now I'm an empty nester. All my kids are doing their own thing. And, you know, that's when you're like, life is like getting ready to be awesome. But life came back with a vengeance. And it was hard. It was hard. I was like, this can't be happening. This is not happening. I'm not going back because you say I'm not going backwards. But actually, you're not going backwards. You relive the things that you're meant to relive so that you can get to the other side of it. And so I say, for years, over 20 something years, I wore a mask. And that mask allowed me to function dysfunctionally because I learned to create coping skills that allowed me to continue to be a leader that wore a mask because I let you see what I wanted you to see. Didn't take away from my leadership skills because I knew what I needed to do as a leader. But in the same instance, I never wanted my troops to feel like, she crazy, something wrong with her, those types of things, because you are in the forefront. You are having people follow you and look up to you and adore you in different things. And so I was always conscious of that. Mm-hmm. And I never,
You put yourself on the back burner so that you could maintain that leadership role.
Yep.
This is totally fascinating. And I know there's no way that we can tell it all. This runs 26 years of behind the brick wall, keeping that mask on. I want to bring it up because I do want everyone to understand what's going on now. You are the face of this conversation. So what do you offer to women that have been thrust into that same situation? They never told anybody. That trust and respect is shot. Where do I go with this? What's your answer to all of that?
My answer is this. You have to dig deep, right? I had to reach out spiritually to take the courage and the steps, because I'm going to tell you, I had to get help. I knew that. And so I did get therapy. Was it easy? Absolutely not, because it does take a level of courage. Because once you identify that you need help, that's one part of it. But going to get the help is the other part of it. And so when you're at that stage, you'll know. And I encourage people to go get help, go to therapy. And because there are various ways of therapy now, there's holistic therapy. And if you're a natural person, I'm a natural person. And so I look for natural ways. And so the biggest thing is like, you want to be a thriver. You don't want to just keep walking. See, you're wearing the mask, but you don't realize that you have it on because you didn't have anyone you could tell or you could share this with. And what I learned was the more I talked about it, the easier it became. Yes, I relived it, but I didn't just drone on it. Mm-hmm. I relived it so that I could share it, right? So I share my story, and I have a community called the Unmasked Warrior Project. And it is specifically for military sexual trauma women, so that they can go, you're going to go through stages. You go through the victim and then into a survivor. And I want you to be a thriver. I want you to really take the mask off. And when you smile, it's a smile that's so deep that it radiates from you, so that it's not that same smile when, okay, I was smiling because I want everybody to think I was good. I'm okay because I got to be okay. No, it's a different type of inner smile and energy that you're able to share. And so I out of my trauma, I knew I needed to do something, and it was to thrive. And so I found a way to thrive. Listen, Ackiss Virtual Management, that was the catalyst because as a business owner, and I transitioned and pivoted and moved back and forth, it really opened my eyes to where I was at in life. And even as a leader, I thought I had it all. I thought I was good. I thought, I'm doing this thing. But when I went to therapy and I started to really learn and have a deeper look in myself, I was like, oh, you were doing things, but there's greater things left for you to do. And you can still lead even outside of the military. So
this is absolutely fabulous. This is why I want everybody to know, I think it's the December issue of WOM Lead magazine. This story will be told in that Women's Leadership magazine. Excuse me, I've never heard such a remarkable story of truth and triumph and thriving. So I want to thank you for coming. How do people get in contact with you? First, Ackiss Virtual Management, how do they reach you? And then I definitely want people to have access to the Unmasked Warrior community.
Okay, so this is the best way to reach me. And this is what I would tell anybody. So you're going to go to linktre.ee anitralane.live, Live. Okay. And that is my link tree. So when you go to Linktree, it will bring you to Ackiss Virtual Management as well as the Unmasked Warrior.
Both of them are together.
They're both together. You'll be able to click on whichever one meets your needs. You'll be able to click on videos to see community resources. All of these things are in one place. Okay. And it makes it much easier. But if you want to go directly to the Unmasked Warrior Project, you can type in unmaskedwarriorproject.net. Unmasked, UNMASKED Warrior, WARRIOR, Project, PROJECT.net.
Gotcha. I will definitely have both of these addresses in the show notes. Anitra Lane, this has been one remarkable conversation. I thank you a million times again for your service, for your candor, and now others are able to thrive. There's something magical that happens and quite liberating that happens when your past doesn't hold you any longer and you can tell the truth about everything. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Margo.
It's as always, lately I've ended every episode with I don't know how to stop. There's so much more to Anitra's story. She's going to have to come back, and we're definitely going to keep an eye on what's going on with the Unmasked Warrior community. But for today, I'm Margo Levette. Her business, her voice, her conversation. I will be back next week with a brand new episode. Wear your mask, wash your hands, because I want to see you back here next week. All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
PodcastAcademyOnline.com, built for the busy entrepreneur. Their podcast becomes a marketing, a branding tool. Podcast Academy Online is where you learn to imagine, develop, launch a podcast at your own pace. PodcastAcademyOnline.com. I want to thank you for listening to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. Couple of things that I want you to do right now. Go to my website, pick up a copy of Her Business, Her Voice, Her Reinvention, how I went from game show hopping to international show host, author, and speaker in 1 year. Number 2, please freely listen to each and every episode. Share them out with your family, friends, the men in your lives. And then number 3, get in contact with me, one of the experts that have been on the show, because I want to make sure that you reinvent yourself. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode here on Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation.